our Obamacare expert in moments. 3 reasons it won't work.
Are there any reasons that it will work?
So
he's just narrowed it down to 3 he's going to share with his reasons.
3 favorite me.
You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.
Where I come from isn't all that great.
All right, we have no time now.
Welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show. Ted Cruz is still talking. He'll be wrapping up his little filibuster or whatever you want to call it here in about 10 minutes or so. We were hoping for a fist fight with Harry Reid, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
I don't know. It's not too late. He could crack. He's getting more and more tired.
You know what?
You know how it is when you're really tired? You're perfectly fine. Then 10 seconds later, you're entirely unhinged.
I've never noticed that. And and he also could be trying to trick the old man. I'm going to step down, and as soon as he walks by, you sucker punch him right in the back of the ear. Back of the ear.
Man, just drop him.
Drop him to his knees, blood spitting out of his mouth.
He's that's a little graphic. He is a senior citizen, you realize. It's horrifying. My God, man.
He's a former boxer.
Please
he should
welcome.
be able to handle himself. He probably wears a mouthpiece all the time.
Probably got the cauliflower ear. Please welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show our Obamacare expert, Craig the attorney, who is currently employed trying to help companies deal with Obamacare, so he knows what he's talking about. Hey, Craig.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, we've got 5-6 minutes. What do you want to talk about re-Obamacare?
Let me hit you with the first fun fact of Obamacare, and that's that the subsidies we Americans will be qualifying for are solely determined by your annual income and have nothing to do with your assets. So for those of you guys who are thinking of maybe retiring at 55, 58 on a nice big $2, $3, $4 million nest egg, don't worry about it. You're going to have Obamacare subsidies as long as you make less than $94,000, as you guys talked about yesterday. And the government can pay for it even though you might be a millionaire.
So you might have $50 million. Be some software genius.
It's solely determined by income. So if you are somebody, like let's say you really are a multimillionaire and you want to retire at 65 or you want to retire at 60. Well, you retire and you don't take any income.
Yeah,
for
we
5
get
years.
it. We get it.
It's
So,
beautiful.
But the alternative to that, Craig, which is why I am what I am, is that you penalize people for saving. Putting aside the millionaire, you got one couple who spent all their money on cocaine and whatever the hell, and another couple that saved assiduously. They have more assets. So which one of them should get a government handout?
Well, in reality, neither.
Right,
I
exactly.
mean, we don't want either, but either way you cut it, once you start monkeying with the economy, you're going to screw it up.
All right, so what else you got?
Okay, so the top 3 things I think you're going to notice when these things roll out. The number one thing that will impact all of us is we're all going to experience rationing by waiting.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So I had lunch yesterday with one of the main carriers in California who is not in the Obamacare exchange, and they're ecstatic that they're not part of it because they're constantly talking to their brethren who are a part of it. 2 of the largest carriers in the exchange for Northern California, at least, are going to be HealthNet and Blue Shield. Both of those carriers have come out and said we're offering roughly half of our doctors in this program. We've cut out all of the high-cost providers, and we're just offering basically the bottom 50%. It's a rush to the bottom.
And does that affect everybody or just if you're...
Well, it's a good point, Jack. It doesn't affect everybody. Those of us who are, still the few of us who are still gainfully employed in this economy with a large employer, most likely have a full network where we have 100% of the doctors in a carrier's network. But you're still squeezing demand, and it's the people who go in the exchanges are really going to get frustrated because you're dumping a bunch of people into an exchange, and you're offering roughly half of the doctors available to the rest of us.
Well, and a lot of us who are gainfully employed by a big company, that big company might dump us. We don't know. I mean, nobody saw Walgreens coming a week ago.
Nope. Walgreens, Trader Joe's, exactly. And the other thing that will happen is your company will very likely offer one of these what we call skinny network plans as well. So what we're likely to see happen is companies offer the 50% plan that has half the doctors and then make you buy up if you want the premium plan where you can actually access a full litany of doctors. But as we know right now, when you can still access a full list of doctors, you still wait a long time.
Right. So your kid is sick. They can see him in a month. Great. Okay. Right. His fever is even higher, doctor. All right. 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. What else, Craig?
The other thing we're going to notice, at least those in the exchanges, this won't impact those who are not going to the exchanges, is technical glitches. I'm talking to the computer people at California and in Nevada, and these things are not ready for prime time yet. I mean, they're saying things publicly like, well, it may be tough. Just keep trying. You'll get through. But we're seeing things like the wrong prices coming out. You hit submit and it doesn't submit, or it's got instructions sending you to a link that doesn't exist, et cetera. All those things that we love about technology.
That happens on for-profit companies' websites that have been working at it for years. I mean, that happens all the time.
Right. So imagine a bureaucracy that doesn't give a rat's ass. Yeah,
that's going to be magnified big time in the exchanges.
And
go ahead.
No, you. Well, you know what? I'm going to drive this point home. This is the problem because we keep talking about if you're on the exchanges and all, but none of us knows if we're going to be forced to pursue that option or not because more and more employers are dropping health plans.
Yeah, and it's last time I was on, I told you guys, I think it was last time I told you, I think the employer mandate's going away. I really do. I think that it's not coming back. And that's going to speed up employers' drop because the only thing right now, in theory, keeping an employer offering health care other than, hey, I still want to recruit top talent is I'm going to be fined, in theory, $2,000 or $3,000 in 2015 if I don't offer health care. But I really do think that's going away, and I think a lot of our Democrats are going to be okay with that because that'll just accentuate the flood into the exchanges and put a stake in the heart of employer-provided health care, which is what they wanted to do.
Well, I got to always mention that because you talk about the website won't work and people will be unhappy. That's the point. They don't want it to work. So, I mean, not only is it going to be bad, they're hoping it's bad. Who's going to be hurrying to make the exchanges better when the ultimate result would be everybody screaming and yelling for single-payer universal health care?
Right. Charles Krauthammer said it pretty well, and I think you guys mentioned it, that the best way to let this happen is to let it roll out because it's going to be such a disaster, but he's not taking the next step, which is when it's as bad of a disaster as it's going to be, people will cry for single payer, and that's going to be our next step.
They will look to the government to solve their problem. All right.
Yeah.
You had one more point?
I got one more that's going to be fun. The subsidies that you get are based on your income, and they ramp up from anywhere from, whether you're making $20,000 up to $94,000. Well, if you get they're always based on the prior year's tax return. So if you happen to get a raise in a certain year, you have to refund those subsidies back. It's just going to be a nightmare because it steps up at 4 different times in that span of money. So you're going to have these people that are constantly looking at their income, and their boss, comes and says, you want a raise, and they're going to have to do all this math on, gee, maybe don't give me a raise until after the first of the year because I don't want to owe my ObamaCare subsidies back.
Actually, I don't want a raise. That'd be terrible.
Right.
Wow.
No, that's going to be a real problem because and everything's always going to be a year in the rears. So you're trying to work off last year's income. It's just nightmare.
All of this administered with the wisdom and compassion of the IRS.
Yeah, and the efficiency of DMV.
Craig, how would you like us to identify you? You'll use your last name or just Craig?
Yeah, you could say Craig Gottwals. That's
Craig Gottwals, our Obamacare expert. He's actually helping companies get prepared for it. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, guys.
All right, see ya.
Speaking of Obamacare, Ted Cruz is wrapping up. We'll see how this ends with a bang or a whimper or a fist fight. Who knows? You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.